Let's get the views then of media lawyer Jonathan Coad, who joins us now. Jonathan, I mean, clearly it's one of those situations where there's, in some respects, there's not a huge amount we can say legally, but would you imagine that this evidence, if they have got all this evidence, that it would be going forward to the police?
Well, that's quite often the case. I mean, I've been on both sides of this. I've worked with good investigative journalism, and I've been on the side of a celebrity or otherwise that's come a cropper with these kind of allegations. Normally, in my experience, that the dossier is sent to the police, and sometimes when a newspaper's been involved, they pass it to the police for legal reasons, because what it does, it allows them to report a police investigation, which makes their legal position a little bit safer and stronger if that's the sort of core of the story.
Yes, I mean, Russell Brand has come out very vociferously defending himself and attesting his innocence. But we have to remember who made this programme and who is writing about it. The Times, the Sunday Times and Dispatches. And their journalists and their record is very, very good, isn't it? And they will have lawyered it like crazy before that programme last night.
Well, you're absolutely right. I cut my teeth as a young lawyer doing work for Dispatches. It's a very fine news programme, one of the best. It's up there with Panorama and Watchdog. And certainly, I mean, I know the Times legal team as well. It's a very good outfit too. So it will have been legal very carefully. The only thing I would say, Anne, is this, is without giving you a law lecture, the way that the law works, the law of defamation, is as long as you put the allegations to, in this case, Russell Brand, and they are reasonably credible, you get a defence under Section 4 of the Defamation Act, a public interest defence, which all lawyers will know about. So the fact that they've done that and they've given Brand the opportunity to respond, and there'll be a response somewhere in the paper from Brand, means that effectively he's going to lose any libel action that he brings about this story.
Does it worry you, though? And it's interesting because you say you've worked for these sort of programmes and things in the past, that it feels like a trial by media, which means that whatever the ultimate outcome of this, someone's reputation is damaged, even if no charges are ever brought.
Well, you're absolutely right, and this is a very difficult, key, almost constitutional question. Good reporting outfits like you must be allowed to make allegations and say some hard things. On the other hand, if you do, the modern technology being as is, it's in the ether, and even if those allegations are untrue and everybody can make a mistake, then it's very difficult to clean that damage from your reputation. Now, that I've spent 30 years trying to resolve this because I've been on both sides, but we only have to think very far back. Hugh Edwards, Kevin Spacey, both were the subject of huge media assaults, and both, it turns out, are innocent. So these are very, very difficult questions as to the protection of people's reputation on one hand and the right of free speech on another.
Clearly anyone who watched the programme last night will be very distressed to have heard those women's stories. But that, again, is their side of the story. The thing I found also fascinating and very interesting from a legal point of view is the sort of disgusting behaviour that has been alleged of when he was actually on BBC premises, when he was actually in a Channel 4 studio. And that brings in their duty of care, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. And I imagine there'll be lots of head scratching about how to respond to that. And of course, this we've learned isn't new. There was Jimmy Savile, there was Rolf Harris. There are inevitably, if you've got celebrities, there are risks of them misusing their positions of power. I'm not saying for a minute that Russell Brand has done that. But as a good-looking, successful male, particularly, there's a risk that power is going to be misused. And when you're a managing talent on television like that, then it's very difficult to monitor what is perhaps ordinary if that's the right word, fan behaviour, and what goes beyond what is consensual.
How do you... I'll tell you what struck me from what Stephanie was saying earlier on, which I hadn't really thought of in these circumstances, but how are you meant to defend yourself against something when you don't know who is alleging these things? I mean, in a police investigation, we wouldn't be told who the victims are, but the person being accused would. In this set of circumstances, it would seem Mr. Brand hasn't been told who the individuals are. Therefore, how does he defend himself?
Listen, been there, done that, got the T-shirt. You know, it is very, very difficult. And having dealt with the kind of letter that... So Brand found out 8 days ago, so I can absolutely tell you what the letter will have looked like. And I've drafted them and received them. So he won't have been given all the details. He'll be given, you know, some of the key details, but there will be more detail that has come across in the programme than actually have been told. But you're right. If he doesn't know the names of the individuals, then it makes it more difficult to defend himself. And it makes it almost impossible to defend yourself because you're trying to prove a negative. So you are in the most difficult position in Brand's case. And all you can really do, I mean, he's decided to go on the front foot. Well, he obviously had the power to do that because he's got sufficient social media presence to go in hard. All these allegations are untrue. At the moment, there's probably nothing much more that he can do than to deny it. But, you know, getting some kind of forensic analysis of the allegations in these circumstances is well nigh impossible.
OK, look, we better leave it there. Jonathan Coad, fascinating to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed.
Yes, and I guess we ought to actually just remind everybody that despite the powerful programme last night, and certainly, you know, spread across all of the front pages of the newspapers, the man is innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah, you really do have to remember that. And then if it does lead to a court case, well then
the court decides.
It's 12 good men and true, or whatever the phrase is, will decide, and not the rest of us.